You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast. It's a four-man show. I mean, you are spoilt today. It's been a long time since we've had four of us on. But, the intro section is going to take a little longer than it has done over the last few weeks. I am Max O'Brown and I am joined firstly by Ross Legg. How are you, Ross?
I returned after a week out and I couldn't be happier with the return from KKR going through. I've got a brilliant bit of theory on karma, Max. I'd like you to ask me about that later before I forget.
Okay, I'll try and make a note of that in my head. I'm also joined by Jack Hope. Jack, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. The specialist captains have stormed the tournament. I've stolen that from the chat on YouTube, but it's what has happened.
That's the narrative that we've been hoping for, and it's continued its way to the final. So excellent news. And finally. And last but very much not least, I'm happy to say we're again joined by Daniel Norcross, aka Smoking Dan. Dan, how are you today?
I am beyond thrilled. I've watched an IPL game that I think will live in my memory beyond tomorrow, and and that is something for which I give thanks, and my love of umpire Anantha Padmanabhan, who had a great day today. I don't think anybody didn't have a great day in their own way. There are so many theories. There's so much to talk about. This is one of the great games of cricket, let alone IPL, that I have ever witnessed. And I cannot wait to chew the cud and tear apart the entrails of that extraordinary last 23 balls. Well, not last 23 balls, the 23 balls before the last ball, because they're the ones we really want to talk about, where 7 runs were scored, 6 wickets were taken, and utter chaos and mayhem took place, and Russian roulette and theories galore. This could genuinely be more fun than the last time we spoke, which was when Sunrisers Hyderabad was stinking the joint out.
Yeah, we did have a good time there. We got to see, we got to hear a live
I think
Danny
they
Morrison
won, didn't they?
on the pod as well. That was that added to the
Yeah.
the excitement. But shall we go through a summary of the game and then we can get into all of the good stuff. A summary that took some rewriting in the last 20 minutes. I can assure you.
Max, I don't want to interject.
Yes,
I don't want to interject.
You want to listen? Messages for listeners.
As host, you have 2 jobs: introduce everyone, read the messages. Right. You've forgotten the second part.
All right.
Of that.
Well, since I've forgotten, Jack, would you like to do the messages?
Yes, we are sponsored by Woodstock Cricket. Everybody here loves Woodstock Cricket. I scored lots of runs with my Woodstock Cricket bat. Max scored quite a few runs, not as many as me. And Ross actually might have scored more than me, although he scored some of his runs against 12-year-olds, so we're not really sure if they count. You can go to their website and use the code TCP25 for 25% off their gear if you want to get good at cricket. We are on Instagram and we're on Twitter at the Cricket Pod. Go over there. How many more followers do we need to get to 3,000? Like 200? All head over there in a big herd of people, digital people, and sign up. And we're on Patreon, patreon.com/the Cricket Pod, where we have just released something that's actually good on the Patreon. We've processed the data from the whole history of the IPL so that you can actually do analysis of, which batter batting in which position in 2009 scored the most runs or whatever it was. Max, what would you choose?
That's underrated. That is underrated, I think, Jack, because I put a couple of pie charts up and did it incorrectly. So all I had was one big pie that just said Dhoni. That's all I did say.
Though that's very much the correct pie, Ross.
Yeah. Max, what would you do right now if you have the data, but if you weren't on this podcast and you had the data?
Right now, I'd like to see how many times a side managed to score 7 runs for 6 wickets in 23 balls.
You could do that. You could go and research that. Patreon.com/the Cricket Pod. $5, £4, 7 Aussie dollars. A number of rupees I don't know off the top of my head. But it's all good. Max, you can do your summary now.
Lovely. Thank you for doing the messages, Jack. Sterling job as always, and that's why I forgot. Yes. The game, KKR hosted Delhi Capitals at their de facto home ground of Sharjah in a shootout for the honour of losing to CSK on Friday. After the last over defeat to awaiting finalists CSK, Delhi Capitals decided to jettison Tom Curran, replacing him with a one-legged Marcus Stoinis, who was employed as a specialist batter to very little effect. KKR won the first battle and took a 50% step towards victory along with it by winning the toss and correctly choosing to bowl first. Virat Kohli should be taking notes at this point. Delhi Capital's innings proceeded as is customary in UAE's third most popular city. A reasonably prosperous first few overs, followed by a very dreary trudge towards an unimposing total. 3 boundaries between overs 5 and 17 were probably about all of the excitement there was to speak of. And just as I assume everyone else who was watching at this stage, was drifting off into the world of slumber, Hetmeyer jerked into action like a sleep kick, cracking 2 maximums off a Lockie Ferguson over, which along with Shreyas Iyer's last ball maximum helped DC to what would probably be described as a laughably defendable total of 135. KKR stated their intent immediately. Gill stroked Norkia for 4 first ball, and he and Venki Iyer in particular got KK off to the dream start, and 6 overs in, the asking rate was down to a run a ball. And from this point, there was seemingly little more left, but for a return from cricket's bogeyman, Mr. DEW Factor, to which KKR's serene progress was often attributed. But as it was, Gill and Venki did most of the work while Delhi loped around in dismay, with drops, wides and overthrows accentuating what looked like a meek demise. But with the game surely in the bag and the world's most pointless Tyres strategic timeout suddenly became the world's most game-changing Tyres strategic timeout. I don't know what they talked about in the Delhi Capital, in the Delhi Capital's huddle, but boy, did things change. Gill wafted behind, and KKR managed to score 3 off the next 12, and they threatened to succeed where they failed against RCB, snatching the most catastrophic of defeats from the jaws of certain victory, as Kolkata's batsmen regressed from nervously supreme to blindfolded 4-year-olds wielding decomposing cucumbers, and suddenly the glitch in the matrix appeared, and after Morgan chopped on, KKR needed 7 off the final over again, with Ashen to bowl it. There was a single, there was a dot, there was a wicket, there was another wicket, and then Tripathi hit a 6, snatching back an unlikely victory from the jaws of an ignominious defeat, and avoided at the same time the Melchizedek of all bottle jobs. And I now need a drink after watching that.
That was one fuck of a summary. I mean, so that went on for a summary. I mean, the Gettysburg Address was literally less than that. Literally less than that. And do you know what? I think this deserved something as brilliant as that, because the Gettysburg Address was simply about the abolition of slavery and the victory in the American Civil War, which is neither here nor there. This was a crucial eliminator 2 in IPL
21?
14?
14?
Well, 14? 13. There we go. It's like Super Bowl numbers. XIII. And it was one of the great games of cricket that any human being could ever wish to witness. Because all great games of cricket, the Women's World Cup, the Men's World Cup final, both at Lord's, the Headingley Test match, all begin and mostly go on with you knowing exactly what's going to happen. And it's only in the last half an hour. I think there was a point where Delhi, where Kolkata runs scored 7 runs in half an hour, because it took so long to get people on and off the bloody pitch as well. We were watching T20, 7 runs in half an hour. It was superb. I say it was superb. For me, it was slightly problematic because at the moment my Sky Plus box is buggered. So it can only tape one thing at once. And since my wife needs to have Strictly It Takes Two available at 6:30, I had to switch to watching the game on my iPhone when at 6:15, Kolkata needed 13 runs to win and were about to do it in no time whatsoever. And at 6:30, they needed 10 runs to win and we're still going to do it in no time whatsoever. And by the end of it, my wife was more into the result of this game than she was into Strictly It Takes Two on the day that Robert Webb has been forced to leave Strictly because of a heart condition. And you couldn't get much bigger.
Spoilers, no.
Whoa, mate.
What do you need spoilers. It's already happened. It's everywhere. It's all over Twitter. Don't you live in the 21st century, Max? Jesus.
I've got a filter on Twitter to filter
cricket.
out everything that involves Strictly.
Right. I know you're now all about to have your own take on this, and you're totally entitled to it, but I refuse to let this podcast finish before you come to me about the Sunil Gavaskar, Matthew Hayden cross-purposes pointless chat that took place as Kolkata were boringly scooting to certain victory.
Yeah,
because it's really important.
No, it's important. On this podcast, we like to address the important topics first. So why don't we do that now? Get it out of the way.
Okay.
I'm sure that's what people have been waiting for. It's the hook that will keep more people coming in. You know,
let me get it
drive the live stream traffic.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because it is exactly why everyone gets T20 wrong. Because the commentary box didn't understand each other and they didn't understand what was going on in the game. So let me paint the picture for you. Kolkata are boringly making their way to easy victory. I think they now at this point need something like 35 from 42. It's something of that sort. It maybe even be nearer than when they were on 30 or 39. And Lockie Ferguson comes into bowl. Was it Lockie Ferguson? Who was it? Might have been Ferguson.
Nokia.
Going round the wicket at Rana.
Yeah. Normally in cricket, Dan, I'll just explain the rules really quickly. The opposition bowl at you. Yeah. Your own bowlers do not bowl at you.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. Well, frankly, all IPL players merge into one gigantic. Either they're bowling fast filth wide outside the off stump, or slow filth darted into the pitch. Anyway, on this particular occasion, the catch is dropped by Ashwin down at deep third. Sonny Gavaskar, is outraged because at this stage, Kolkata need to go at around about 4.5 and over. So he cannot understand why the first ball that Rana has faced, he's made this wild yahoo at. Hayden, who takes, I think, the perfectly normal view, which is that if you are cruising to victory and you're in a bit and you're known for smashing the ball all over the place, keep on smashing it because you're playing T20. So knocking the ball around for singles will only increase the likelihood of pressure at some point. So he is convinced that Sonny is talking about the drop catch. And he's like, yeah, I mean, you just got to take a look at that. What is he doing? And Sonny's going, yes, what is he doing? It's the first ball he's faced. First ball he's faced from the new bowler, and he goes straight after it like that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, I think he's just lost concentration as the ball's. I mean, it may have come out of the lights. Yes, it's a ridiculous shot to play. I mean, what the hell were they talking about? What they were talking about is how nobody in that box seems to understand what it is that they're actually seeing, which is that Kolkata Knight Riders got themselves into a perfect position in which to win the game and continued going after it, which is in Morgan's image. Now, on very few occasions, everybody suddenly gets out for a duck, 4 consecutive ducks. But the view in the Kolkata Knight Riders dressing room was, we've got enough wickets in hand to swing from the hip. So it was a game of Russian roulette in which, with the revolver loaded with bullets, as it turned out, because they kept on getting fired off. And then finally, they hit the winning 6 because it just kept on swinging from the hip and they needed 13 off 28, which was the right thing to do. But anyway, no one else seemed to spot that apart from me, you, and you, I should imagine. Because watching on TV, you'd have thought that, well, you just have to push the ball around for 1s and 2s. No, you don't. You play fucking T20.
Yeah, they were like, oh, Shubman Gill's 46 or 46. What a magnificent innings.
It was perfect. Mind you, I've got to say, the last time I was on, I was asked about Venki Iyer. And I'm starting to think there was a particular shot that he played that was one of supreme perfect majesty over deep mid-wicket with a straight bat, which was something else. And the other thing that was something else was Sunil Gavaskar lauding Shubman Gill for just taking a run of ball. And then when he got a short one from Lockie Ferguson and strappling it over long on for 6, there was this horribly long pause while he said, well, he's very good off the back foot and he judged that length really well. When what he meant was, damn, he was supposed to sky that in the air, get out, and I can be furious again.
Do we want to talk about the first half of this game? the boring bit very quickly?
Yep.
You lot do
Yes,
that. Yeah. I'm going to mute myself for a while.
Dan takes the glory.
So we thought, Max, we were doing the podcast on Sunday night, weren't we? Or Monday night, whenever we last did a podcast. And going into it, we thought that this match was too close to call. I think one of us went one way and one of us went the other.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of balance. I went for KKR, so I was right. But we both said that it was too close to call. Starting off, Delhi put into bat at Sharjah. That's pretty difficult for them. Teams batting first only win about a third of the time. Ross, we were all surprised at how they went about things, which was reasonably circumspect to begin with.
Well, they picked Marcus Stoinis first and foremost. I mean, Max, you said in the intro that they picked him on one leg. They've got. I mean, you definitely shouldn't play Steve Smith in this case. I was kind of saying I'd hope they play Tom Curran again, because if they got to the final of the IPL playing Tom Curran in back-to-back games, genuinely hilarious because he's awful. But Sam Billings is in the squad, right? Or has he flown off to be with England already? Because he's not injured and is a good middle-order hitter and he's pretty good against spin and Sharjah's tiny. He's also got 2 legs, which is a benefit.
Yeah.
I was a bit confused at that selection.
So, just one thing, Sam's quite posh, but not even he would fly from Sharjah to Oman to join the England team. I imagine he'd just get
I don't know. In the IPL, get the old chopper over there. What I do like is I looked at Sam Curran's, what should we call it, is on Delhi Capital's website, how they explain who Sam Billings is. He's got a bright smile, almost as vibrant as his shots, and he's one of the most likeable cricketers on the plane.
Well, I mean, in fairness,
on the plane.
In fairness, Ross, that's probably slightly better than the Hundreds description of Sam Billings, which was that he was an all-rounder. So
look, not everything's perfect.
Well, he does wicket keep and bat.
So okay, Ross. So firstly, anyway, you're saying they picked the wrong team, but when they were actually playing,
yeah. So I thought Prithvi Shaw was good as always. Goes out, hits it from ball one, and he's great. I actually really like Prithvi Shaw. But the pitch, Jack, you said in the WhatsApp chat was a bit like custard in the first innings.
Yeah, it did have a custardy consistency, but like dried custard.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
We're continuing the pudding theme, aren't we?
Like, yeah, it wasn't gloopy custard.
I don't know
it was it had a
what
skin.
Is dried custard?
If you leave custard in a
when
bowl
it gets the
for
film
too long,
on top,
the moisture sort
the skin.
Yeah,
what?
It had that. It
But
had
hang
a
on,
skin.
But hang on. It had a custard skin, but did it have a custard underneath? Because if it had custard skin is notoriously easy to break using a cricket ball hurled at 78 miles an hour.
Really.
Or more. I mean, it would just simply go straight into it. I mean, that is
it's a
not
metaphor,
an analogy
Dan.
that works.
It's like
it's not. Well, it doesn't work.
Dan. I think
there's got to be something more realistic.
What Jack's trying to get across.
It's magical realism.
What Jack's trying to get across is that it's a custard.
It's like
skin.
the Underground Railroad. It's not really a train.
It's a custard skin, but the custard's been made with too much corn flour, so it's become a non-Newtonian fluid, so that when the ball strikes it, it actually maintains a level of resistance so that it can still bounce with the skin on top.
I'm going to do a harsher bogle here. I'm going to do a harsher bogle here and get us back to the cricket.
It was low. It was low. This is a fact, Matt Ross. This is a fact. The pitch, they had a graphic that showed at Sharjah the ball normally bounces just above the stumps, but on this pitch 4 they called it, the shit pitch, I'm going to call it. It bounced about a foot lower, and that meant that nobody could play any real cricket shots on it. I mean, there was a way to play on it, and a couple of batters did sort of figure this out. But players like Shikhar Dhawan and even Stoinis to a lesser extent, standing up and trying to play real cricket shots, it just wasn't working for them.
What's a real cricket shot? I'm sorry.
You know what a real cricket shot is. You commentated with Jeffrey Boycott for 15 years. You know what I'm talking about.
And do you know what? I absolutely do not let anyone get away with saying that's a proper cricket shot, because when they do that, they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, I can tell you exactly what I'm talking about. No, well, let's finish the description. So Shikhar Dhawan, Marcus Stoinis, they're playing the ball. Their interception point, if you like, is closer to the stumps in a more traditional MCC coaching manual style of cricket. The players who did well in this game went and hit the ball a long way down the pitch. They were intercepting the ball much closer to where it bounced. And the fact that it was staying very low and the fact that it was a bit slow was less of a problem for them. Shikadawa and the sixes he actually hit were all like slog sweeps where he was hitting the ball 2 meters in front of the popping crease. And the rest of the time he looked all at sea.
But this is nonsense because every single MCC coaching manual imagines a lovely pitch in which the ball comes onto you. So
this is what we're saying. It wasn't a lovely pitch.
No, every shot that you play, Jack, every shot that you play on every single pitch that you play on, and people used to play on really terrible pitches and they still do all over the world, are the right cricket shots. The right cricket shots are the ones that score you actual runs and the circumstances you find yourself, which is why Victor Trumper was one of the great sticky wicket players. It's why we talk about people who were able to adapt to difficult circumstances like Neil Harvey. It's why these ideas have been going on for 140 years, right? The idea that you've got a proper cricket shot, no such thing exists. What you've got is the right shot on the right pitch in the right circumstances. And certain players are able to adapt to those things. That's all. Don't give me proper cricket shots.
Well,
I hate proper
in that
cricket
case,
shots.
let's
The proper cricket shots. It's some boring golf playing bastard who goes, "Oh, that's a proper cricket shot. That's a proper shot. He's a proper player. He is." I mean, it's a pipe smoking wanker at the end of a bar, constantly tediousing you out about how Peter May played proper cricket shots. And these days, they do all sorts of weird crap. What they do these days is work out how to play when things get tricky. And the ones
they didn't do a very good job of that.
They're not proper cricketers.
Well, they didn't do a very good job of that because the batters 2, 3, 4 for Delhi Capitals, they managed to hit just 6 boundaries in 89 balls, which is about a third of the average for an IPL batter. That's poor batting. I think that's, to be honest, where the game's lost. We can talk about the drama later on, but I just think it's sort of inexcusable that Shikhar Dhawan batted for 39 balls the way he did. Stoinis, I think, was hung out to dry a little bit. He didn't look fit. I don't think he even fielded, did he? They brought Steve Smith on almost immediately. And Shreyas Iyer, he finishes with a strike rate of 111, but only because he gets 6 off the last ball, which counts to his score, to be fair. But that was a pretty tortured innings.
Up to that point,
between them, they keep Rishabh Pant and Shimron Hetmeyer off the pitch. They face 16 balls between them. Their 2 best batters, probably. Prithvi Shaw aside, maybe. They faced 16 balls. It's that's
scandalous.
It's terrible resource allocation.
It's terrible. It is, and it's backed up actually by the bowling figures because it shows that at no point did anybody get taken down because they didn't have the opportunity, because they didn't have the batters in at the right time who would do that sort of thing. So if you look at their bowling figures, 5 bowlers, all bowled 4 overs. They conceded between 26 and 28 runs. It's the most extraordinary bunching you will ever see. I'm not sure it's ever happened in IPL history. 5 bowlers, they conceded between 26 and 28 runs, and 135 was the score, 6.75. It was exactly what everybody bowled, and that was kind of indicative, really, in that there was no over when you thought it's now going to happen. There's now going to be the charge. Now something's going to occur. There was a sort of run management and an assumption almost. They'd set their sights to, I reckon they'd set their sights to 145 to 150 at absolute best. And they were satisfied that they were going to get to 135, really.
If you want to figure out if there's been ever a situation like that, why don't you download and sign up to our Patreon where we've got all of the information and you can figure that out for yourself.
Shameless.
That's good thinking, Ross.
Absolutely shameless.
Patreon.com/thecricketpod. We still don't know how many rupees it is, but it's £4.
Why don't you just very quickly go on to, exchange.com. I think it's like 70 rupees to the pound. It's probably about 285 rupees, is my guess. It's my guess. Do you want to double check for me?
Yeah. And subscribe to this YouTube channel whilst you're at it. Anyway, I just can't get over that. 16
Delhi
balls
blew it, right?
between Pant and Hetmeyer.
Yeah, Delhi blew it. They
got
blew
88
it
or 44 balls in their last game.
Yeah, they blew it against CSK. They've blown it here. It's poor decision making. They got the selection wrong, and they just didn't pick the right bowlers at the right time. It was an inexperienced Pant and a Aussie-loving Ricky Ponting that's cost them this victory, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, but he's really likable, though, isn't he? He's very, very likable. Oh yeah, I mean that video doing the rounds on Twitter. I mean, I wanted to be England coach, to be honest with you. The idea of a Ponting Langer Ashes off in England just sounds so much bloody fun.
Gary Pratt is his assistant coach.
He's a nice guy, Ponting.
Which one of you?
Very nice guy. You know, don't laugh. Well, I mean, laugh if you like.
I was laughing at the Gary Pratt thing.
He's a charming. He's a charming presence in the box. He's He's got high emotional intelligence.
Would he do it though? Could he bring himself to coach England?
Well, how much have we spent on Dido Hardy? I'm sure we could divert a little bit of that. I mean, I'm talking about public money here, 7, 8, 9 million. I should think we should be able to secure his services.
Which one of you, just quickly on the pitch, I don't really want to talk about it too much because it was shit. Which one of you did the football tweet?
It wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
What the...
Yeah, it was you, Max.
The one about
the answer is me.
Juve and Barca playing with a deflated football. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, that was what you were supposed to read out the whole point. I was teeing you up, didn't work, did it?
Yeah.
That was an example of chemistry failing.
Yeah.
On the podcast.
So I thought just having spent enough time with you, Jack, I thought I was about to get it in the neck for something, but I didn't realise you would tear me up.
No, it was a good tweet.
Yeah.
Well, can you explain your tweet? Because it was good. I mean, it's rubbish now, isn't it? But otherwise.
Well, someone suggested that the playing cricket at Sharjah has become like watching Burnley against Newcastle on a Monday night, and my thought about that was that actually that's a game that would be improved by being played on a farm, and it was more like watching Juventus play Bayern Munich with a completely deflated football. Because it's just
a good analogy.
You've taken the excitement out of the game, haven't you, and just made them play with unacceptable conditions.
The excitement did come back for WinViz-aholics. The Crick Metric WinViz had the game poised, or had KKR as a 74% favourite at halfway, which seemed about right.
Yeah.
I thought. Shubman Gill and Venki in particular, he batted really well, and by the end of the power play, the chances of Kolkata losing or rather Delhi winning were down to just 9%. Max, it was a pretty fearsome display of hitting, or given the circumstances, given the fact they were playing with cricket's equivalent of a deflated football, the custard pie wicket, the Sharjah death strip. It was pretty good going.
Sharjah's death. What did you say?
Sharjah death strip.
That sounds like a stripper's haircut. That does.
Yeah, well, it was a real contrast, wasn't it? The way KKR approached it, and even Delhi Capital's innings lasted 4 overs, basically, didn't it? They were 32 off their first 4, and KKR just carried on from there. Really, they started well and continued it, and I think it kind of showed perhaps the advantage that KKR might have had and it's an advantage that they had to use properly and understand, but the sort of having played 3 of their last 4 games at Sharjah on these pitches, knowing where to bowl, not like Nortje's first ball was over pitched and got driven for 4, and that was the very last thing you need to do on this pitch. Bowling full is the one thing that can be hit, so don't do it. KKR knew that from their experiences from destroying the Rajasthan Royals, and they implemented that knowledge properly. And the same on the batting. It's like you mentioned, Jack. The number of times you could see them with intent coming down the wicket to intercept the ball further from the crease. That's sort of the intent they showed, and the knowledge of the ground that they managed to employ, and they did it really well. And I think Delhi Capitals, it's an advantage having done it, but I think Delhi Capitals could have learned from it, like maybe watched some of the games at Sharjah and worked out what's needed to do it, because it's not like these people have never done. It's not like they've never executed these skills before. Just because they haven't done it in the last 3 games doesn't mean they can't, look at what's been happening and try and copy it. So KKR did the right thing at the right time.
Not running down the pitch, but coming down the pitch has been a bit of a hallmark of Shubman Gill's game in particular, I think, in the second half of this IPL. And, his 46 from 46 today, it's not a thrilling innings, but it bearing in mind the context of what else happens in this match, actually makes quite a big difference.
Yeah.
When
you've got
happened at the other
Venki
end?
Iyer
I mean,
scoring,
that
helps.
was why the commentary. That's why the commentary became fascinating. That's what I mean. That's why the commentary was fascinating, because there was this insane one-eyed way of looking at it, as if Shubman Gill was anchoring a side while somebody else was teeing off. The person teeing off was just getting a bit lucky and playing really well. Played some absolutely fantastic shots, but at the other end, you've got somebody who's struggling with the pitch like everyone else has struggled with the pitch. And suddenly we were sort of imputing on him that there was some kind of motive force to what he was doing, that he actually understood what he was doing. What he was doing was trying not to get out while someone else was scoring runs at the other end, which showed an amount of game intelligence. You do that, but anybody in this Zoom call would do exactly the same thing. If someone's scoring the runs and you could work out, and he was hitting the ones and twos. And it did make his dismissal that much more ludicrous, actually, because when he did get out, he was at a point when he was the one person who just continually needed to just knock it into space to get ones and twos, which is why Gavaskar was annoyingly correct about it, even though he was also strangely wrong about what happens in the T20 game. Yeah, well, but it was confusing, wasn't it? It was confusing, and it was a very strange moment when he did get himself out. But it was made even stranger by the fact that it precipitated an enormous collapse, which, in a way, didn't all of us here think might happen. So, we're in this IPL game, and it's set up in this way, and they surely aren't just going to get over the line with 2.5 overs to go. Now, that's not because I was imagining any shenanigans. It's because I've not seen a situation like this where that just happened. So some kind of crazy maniac shit's going to go down, and it did.
I thought it might threaten. I thought they might threaten crazy maniac shit. I didn't think it would actually get to even close to the stage that it did. That was beyond my wildest dreams.
I was on the brink of thinking it's about to happen at every moment.
They went from a 0.1% chance of winning. Again, this is your cricket metric, so
and they were right. I mean, that is a right
0.1% chance of winning in the 17th over to an 80% chance of winning with one ball to go, or with like two balls to go, or whatever it was.
Of losing.
Losing. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. It was
and then they KKR won.
Well, you can chalk this up to taking it deep, can't you?
Do you know what? It's much easier to take it deep if you've only lost one wicket after 15 overs in a really small chase. A very similar thing happened, though. Do you remember the Big Bash final of, I think it was 2019? And it went the other way. They needed something like 25 off 40 and proceeded to lose 8 wickets and score 17 runs and lose. I think it was the Renegades against somebody or other.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
That's right. And this game was basically that game writ large. Maybe because I'd commentated that game, and yet I still can't remember who was playing in it. I was instantly reminded of it. My spidey senses went, oh shit, something weird's going to happen the moment Gill got out. And Morgan, isn't the Morgan story incredible? He's going to end up in an IPL final. For all I know, he'll probably win it, but some fluky, weird way, despite having scored 1 off 4 at a crucial moment. And been got out of trouble with a Lockie Ferguson 6 off the last ball. Who knows?
He averages 9 this year.
Is it 9?
Yeah, I reckon that's probably at the top end of what I'd be able to average in the IPL.
I'd be interested to know what you guys think, because there's a guy called KKR a cricketing guru on Twitter, who I love dearly and causes some concern with some people because he's very straight down the line. And he doesn't believe in the existence of captaincy. He thinks that this is all mumbo jumbo. It's all the nonsense we say. People are great in clutch positions. No, they're not. Roger Federer isn't better when things are difficult. He just wins 53% of the points to 47% of the points because he's that little bit better.
That's not true, though, is it?
Because that's what actually works out.
You're making decisions if you're a captain. Like there's fundamentally a difference in outcome between using Rabada or Tom Curran. Or a difference in expected outcome in the last match, and they went with Tom Curran. They lost. They're in this game. Rabada, by the way, I mean, we're saying like we were talking about this game like KKR fell to pieces, but Rabada's figures in this match: 4 overs, 23 for 2 are pretty good. But yeah, back to the original point.
Would you put an expected captaincy? An expected captain like Kriegbeers has got how much you get in bowling minus plus, how much you get in batting minus plus, how much you get in fielding minus plus. And would you like there to be a captaincy metric? If you think it's actually
you might as well, because it'd be about as opaque as the other numbers, wouldn't it?
Be like, you could, that's the answer. Is if you don't know how the maths works behind these ideas, then they're effectively
big brain viz.
Yeah,
and you've got Nathan Lemon with his little sign up for Morgan because he can't remember more than 4 things.
Generally speaking, I subscribe to what Dan Weston says in this area, that 80-90% of captains are not really having much of an impact on the game one way or the other. At the extreme end, you've got 5-10% who are doing really well or doing really badly. And I think.
So is Morgan doing well?
I think in the last 7 games he has. I think generally speaking, Morgan in white ball cricket's probably not somebody I'd say was an amazing tactician in the same way that like Dhoni, who's the obvious answer here. It's like Dhoni's teams win. Dhoni's teams win when they're bad. They win at the beginning of the auction cycle. They win at the end of the auction cycle. He's going to be in his 10th out of 14 IPL finals. That's mad performance. And that's in a league built for parity. Like Morgan in when he's captained at a domestic level hasn't got anywhere like that kind of record in leagues that are similarly sort of built for parity. With England, obviously he's awesome. But he's got all the toys, hasn't he? Where I think Morgan excels is off the pitch. It's strategic. It's getting people to buy into a wider game plan, not who's going to bowl when, not the on-field captaincy part of it is what I mean. So I think he's a good captain overall, but because of the off-field stuff he does and his vision for how the game should be played and his understanding of what, in quotes, good white ball cricket is, I think he there is more advanced than most captains. But I think tactically there are better captains out there. Now his influence in that area. Wait a minute.
Let's let Dan say something, Jack.
No, I'm going to just keep leaving just enough of a gap for him to start.
Since you're extrapolating from the record, it seems strange to imagine that the IPL is a league built for parity when CSK and Mumbai Indians have basically won nearly all of the bloody tournaments they've ever been. And CSK are in the final because they're better. So what we assume is they're better because they're Dhoni's better captain, rather than assuming that they've got a better 11 player.
It's one of the factors. Team. It's not the factor.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, what I'm asking is, if you think it is one of the factors, how are you going to measure it? And if you think
you can look at. So there's a really good example recently.
But you're looking retrospectively.
Yeah, well, you have to do. It's very difficult to look into the future because we don't know what will happen.
But you can look into the present, so you can look at the actual time. And
we can look at how bad Kuldeep Yadav is now, for example, after he's moved away from being captained by Dhoni. And I think there are quite a few examples of spinners that has happened to. I think even Ashwin might be one of them. Who was
bowlers actually bowl worse balls because MS Dhoni isn't there?
No, because Dhoni will use the bowler at the right point in right point in the game. So what we see often, who was it who bowled to Narayan? Dan Christian other night. Yeah. So Narayan is really good at hitting one type of bowling, medium pace right arm bowling. He's really, really good at it. Who did Kohli bowl? He had the choice of bowling anyone. He bowled the most medium pace, worst bowler he could possibly have used. That's an example of a captain who's made a bad decision. The outcome of that over would probably have been different if he'd thrown it to Glenn Maxwell, the off spinner, spinning the ball away from Narayan. Actually, you know what? Who got Narayan out today? The off spinner, spinning the ball away from Narayan. It was Ashwin. Was it first ball, second ball?
First ball.
It's that kind of decision making.
Circumstances.
But it's that kind of decision that Dhoni gets right and Kohli gets wrong.
But Jack, it's that kind of inference that discredits the entire way that sensible people look at statistics, because you've actually put down Narayan's dismissal today to being undone by a right arm off spin, when what he was doing was trying to hit a ball for 6 off his first ball.
But he was trying to do that. What you're doing,
and do you know what?
Is moving the bell curve of expected outcomes. You're moving the bell curve of expected outcomes.
I'm just saying, he did, but he didn't. And look what actually happened. What happened was that he got a ball in the slot. And because it was his first ball, he didn't quite connect with it as well as he would do. He virtually did do. and Ashwin got away with getting a wicket. It wasn't because it was a genius tactical move to have a right arm off spinner bowling a bloody Naraya.
It's not a genius tactical move.
What
it is the right decision.
Dictated everything about that.
It's the right decision if you're the captain to do that, though. And what Kohli did when he bowled Dan Christian was evidently the wrong decision, because you can look at what happens when right arm off spinners bowl to left-handers. They get them out more often than they do when they're bowling to other people. And you can look at players like Narayan, who are very good at hitting one type of bowling, and know not to bowl that type of bowler to them. That's good captaincy. And
you should be able to put a metric on it, Jack. Get hold of Cricketbees. Have a word with Ben. He'll be all over it. He'll love it.
I'm honestly lost after that.
Right, can we talk about Akshar Patel?
Oh, what, being dropped from India?
Akshar Patel. So today,
for the Lord.
For the Lord. So Lord Thakur has come in for Akshar Patel. On Akshar Patel, this is kind of his big, probably his second biggest ever game that he's played in his career. And in the morning of that game, the BCCI go, do you know what? Let's just drop this little bomb in on his life. But how is that to treat a young player in this kind of thing? And I mean, I'm not sure when people talk about kind of the IPL and all that kind of stuff that people want certain people to win. But if I'm a Kolkata fan and I'm the BCCI PR person, I'm dropping that news. I'm trying to unsettle any Delhi player I can. Because we all used to play Football Manager. Dan, did you ever used to play Football Manager? When you were younger? Champions League, whatever.
Well, I've seen other people doing it, and I've given them my opinion, which is I think
he played Sabutio.
Yeah, I did play Sabutio, yeah.
So Champman, LMA manager,
really
whatever.
Ruffled knuckle. As a result.
Lovely. I hope that's some Sabutio. But in Football Manager, I looked to disrupt players before a big game by declaring interest or submitting a bid. I felt the same came from BCCI here. I thought there was a Kolkata fans.
Do you think Morgan maybe did some backroom captaincy, got some stuff to go up the chain, spoke to Dinesh Karthik? He can move things, can't he?
Yeah. So I just there was a little bit of subterfuge there, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, Kolkata is still obviously run by communists, isn't it? So I suppose they're in stark contrast to the BJP Delhi government establishment franchise. So you're right. There could have been some serious, actually genuinely serious. We're talking full Third World War Iron Curtain nonsense crap going on within India.
There's an alternative theory I have. Yeah, there's an alternative theory I have.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's karma.
Karma.
It is karma. So do you
remember the
Indian
Premier League? So
go back to I'm thinking bigger on this. I'm thinking England fan perspective. Karma.
All right.
Remember the third Test match, the day-night Test match in Ahmedabad versus England when we went to tour India?
Could never forget it. Yeah.
England got bowled out for 81 in the second innings. It was all embarrassing.
Joe Root taking 6
11
wickets was the highlight, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So
beautiful,
at the time, we were dismayed how bad the pitch was. That the pitch was a fix, and it was all a load of shit. That is exactly what our opinion was, and I think we were probably right in saying that.
Yours maybe, not mine. No. I thought it was perfectly acceptable way to. You've got home advantage, and why would you make a pink ball game in which Jimmy Anderson suddenly bowls ball around corners? So no, but I take your point.
But that doesn't help my
stupid people.
Karma theory here. That's not helping.
Well, there are different theories, though, aren't there? Ross, there are definitely philosophies on how man thinks about ordering the universe, aren't there? Mm-hmm. You're thinking of it from a karmic point of view. I guess Dan just thinks it's anarchy or something, or science behind how man.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of anarchy, science, and nihilism. Yeah, I think it's something of all those things go into the great big melting pot of futility that is our lives. Yeah.
Well, Ross, I like to think that your karmic idea is more romantic. So carry on.
Yeah. So if you think of the players who were playing in that game, Virat Kohli, captain, disgraced. Yeah. Now out of the competition yesterday for bowling for bowling Dan Christian. Today, Akshar Patel, second most expensive bowler, gets 4 from 4, has a pretty bad game. Ashwin blows it in the final over and drops a simple catch. They were the 3 players playing, and there's no representative from that side playing in the IPL final. Karma. That's what it is.
Vic London in the chat says, I love Norcross. Bring this guy back often, please. And where does he commentate? BBC, maybe, isn't it, Dad?
There's this program called Test Match Special, which they put out when Test matches are on. They stick it on the BBC. There are more famous people on it than me, like Jonathan Agnew. He's been doing it for 31 years. You may know him from giggling along when Ian Botham nearly hit his stumps with his cock.
I thought he did hit his stumps with his cock.
There are other people like. No, I think he did it with his leg, but that was the thing. He got the leg over, didn't quite get the. Yes, I mean, he probably at the same time did get that over, but he didn't. I don't think he hit it with that. Certainly, if Twitter evidence is to be believed. So, I've no idea. Somebody else as well. Yes, Emily Raid for Brent. You may know her, and Michael Vaughan. That's where I commentate.
Vic has replied, BBC, bloody leftists. So he might be tuning in.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
He'll like Michael Vaughan.
He's got a point. He's got a point. There is nobody more left wing than Michael Vaughan, and it's an absolute nightmare trying to deal with his wokery. And Jeffrey Boycott. Jesus Christ.
It's wonderful.
Constantly going on about trans rights. It's an absolute nightmare.
It's absolutely wonderful how the BBC can be at all times leftist, right wing, and completely devoid of opinion, all at the same time. It's a wonderful feat.
Well, do you know, that's why it's the very highest accolade to work on Test Match Special, because to be the most right-wing Nazi you've ever met, and at the same time a dangerous insurgent Marxist while having no opinion on anything, it takes a kind of skill that you three guys can only fucking dream about, and not swearing on air. I mean, imagine how difficult that is when you have a mind like mine.
It's probably pretty right, fellas. Are there any good performances from this game that we haven't talked about? Because we normally talk about the bad things. And
Venky, talk about Venky.
Venky was good. We said that.
Venky was good. Well, we probably have. I mean, I thought all of KKR's bowlers were annoyingly equally good, but equally good in their own different ways. I mean, like that the first over that Shakib Al Hassan bowled was so quintessentially perfect. It's like you're coming out, you're playing this game, the two openers are kind of getting themselves together right. It really, really matters. Shakib comes in, scurrying in off 4 paces and darts the ball into the pitch before either, Shikhar Dhawan or the other guy has got any bloody hope of knowing what he's going to do. Gill. It's horrible. It's horrible to watch. Take a single and then chunk, 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 and before you know it, an over's gone. And that was terrific. And then when Ferguson bowled, he bowled one bad ball right at the beginning. He floated that 90-mile-per-hour half volley and was whacked through the covers. And his next 9 balls went for 4 runs, as he correctly identified that banging the ball in just back of a length at someone's hip would be really annoying on that pitch, which you say is unfit for purpose. But I think you're also insane, because the 4 of us spend most of our times when we play cricket on pitches as slow, as low, as tedious.
Nobody watches
that. No one wants to watch it, and no one's
won't come and
no
watch
one's
that.
doing it at 90 miles an hour, so you've got time to adjust.
Yeah, well, in that case, if you're a professional cricketer and you're playing on that snot heap, that's your skill. That's what you've got to get good at. That's
just
what you've
make
got to
it
actually
flat
do.
shit and let them hit sixes on the motorway. That's what I want.
That's so boring, though. I mean, watching it at Bangalore for years gone by, I saw a Champions League game when there was a Champions League. You both probably saw suckling at the teat when that happened in about 2013 or 12. And there was this game, we were commentating on it, and it was 6 after 6 after 6. And all you can go is, yes, it's gone again. It's a road. It's a bloody road. He's bowled a perfectly reasonable ball and it's been hammered over deep mid-wicket for a 98-metre 6. It's pointless. There's no pleasure in that. This was great fun. Absolute chaos and mayhem is what we want in cricket. Stop. Don't discharge your pitches. I want more like that. I want 98 plays 87 in the World Cup final. That's what I'm
The
after.
thing is, it was very nearly not exciting. That's the problem. And like this sort of once in a blue moon chaos at the end made it an unbelievable game. But up to that point, it was very much looking like being extremely dull. And I think that's sort of part of the problem.
Max was going to have to run home.
Yeah, well,
to watch it. It's either Shan or Guyan Raunak on the chat has asked us a question that will move us on to the last few minutes of this podcast, which is probably timely. Folks, CSK versus KKR. Whose chances do you fancy more in the finals? Will it be a final feather in the hat of the great MSD? I don't know who's MSD. Whoever that is.
Dhoni. Interesting Dhoni.
Yeah, thanks, Ross.
Ross, come on.
It's one of the great captains who probably has won a load of games with.
I mean, now that's a guy whose skip viz is plus 11.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
Ross, why don't you kick us off with your thoughts on the final?
Hart wants Eoin Morgan to win because then that means that any of us could potentially have a cricketing career in the IPL, because I think I could average 9 runs. I'm backing myself in the IPL to average 9. Yeah. Probably 10. I'm going to say 10.
10. You could outdo the great Eoin Morgan.
Now he's got a Woodstock. Yeah,
that's a good point. Woodstock cricket bats.
I'm feeling pretty confident really. But Mahendra Singh Dhoni, I think, deserves it. Like the CSK have been excellent. I think the two best teams in the last 10 games have come through. CSK got to drop their players. They played Robin Uthappa, for goodness sake, and they still got to the final. And he's still hitting runs. Like how they are squeezing every ounce of talent out of these old men, and there is nothing better.
Like lemons,
I don't think.
Don't they? So that's a good analogy.
They all look a little bit lemons, and they're like, oh, let's get this lemonade out of them. And that is what Mahendra Singh Dhoni and Stephen Fleming is actually doing at CSK. And yeah, I was quite like them to win. But
he's dead right, actually. I mean, there's an important point about lemons that when you get if you leave a lemon for a long time, when they get really dry on the outside, really dry, and you're slightly worried, but you've kept them in a dry place so they don't go fungal. And then you cut them up and then you squeeze the last dry remnants out of a lemon. It is the sharpest, most intense taste you could ever get. And I know I'm flying the flag for old men here, but it's exactly, you're dead right. I don't think you could probably get a better side. The Philadelphia Phillies back in 1994, when they won the World Series, were an average age of 38 and an average weight of 17 stone. And if you can get that kind of a side and get it
baseball,
together,
baby.
Oh yeah,
average weight of 17 stone on
17,
a team of what?
17 stone. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, they were big and old and heavy.
That's Prius Chawla going everywhere.
Oh yeah, at the very least. Yeah, it's a 39-year-old Shardul Thakur. I mean, imagine it.
Imagine that the distillation of that talent.
I tell you what, going around Lord Thakur's house, I reckon that'd be good. You'd have a great dinner.
Speaking of lemons, Nathan Lemon's on the other side, isn't he, Ross?
He is old lemon boy. Him and Morgan putting up the little signs that go on. You can remember this one, Morgan. Look, it's a fish. What noise does a fish make?
KKR are going to win, though. KKR are going to win because there has to be a story, and there will be a story. And
Dhoni's enough story.
CSK haven't played for a week. They've forgotten how to play cricket. They've got really lax. They spent a lot of time by the pool. The kind of like day-to-day drudgery of the IPL
by the pool, soaking up the last bits of juice before Dhoni squeezes them into a victorious cup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And KKR are going to come out boldly, being brilliant. I think in a strange kind of.
I mean, I'm obviously.
It's going to be a draw. It's going to be all called off. There's going to be a COVID outbreak. And it's all going to be called off.
I think it's going to be a 3 super over victory for CSK.
A triple super over
victory for CSK. That's my very obvious. It's obviously what's going to happen. I can't look past CSK as a CSK fan, clearly, but it's a battle between the team who haven't played cricket for a week and a team who've spent a week playing cricket at Sharjah, and see if they can remember how to play cricket somewhere else. So that could be an interesting battle.
Yes,
Could be.
yes. I think it'd be good. I think CSK are favourites, and I think they're deservedly favourites. They're a better cricket team than KKR, I'm afraid to say.
Well, no wonder their captain keeps winning then, because they've got a better cricket team. That's the whole bloody point.
But he
That's why
organises.
captaincy is meaningless, isn't it? They've got a better team. Just admitted it. They've got a better team.
But captaincy, if you for example, take Virat Kohli, who had a better team on Monday,
This is true.
and lost
Yeah.
because
And
he
then
didn't captain right. You know,
Look, hang on a minute, Max. You can be a shit captain. Doesn't mean that you can
The tears
necessarily
in
be
his
a good
eyes
captain. You
obscured
could simply
his
be
vision.
an adequate captain. I mean, just because you're preternaturally
Yeah, but-
incompetent doesn't mean that other captains are really good. So, look, if you took 15 people and you put them in front of a fire, and one of them put their hand in the fire and the other 14 didn't, would you say the other 14 were brilliant, not putting their hand in the fire?
No,
Or would you point
one
out
would
there was
obviously
an
be
idiot
better,
who put
wouldn't
his hand
they?
in the fire? So Kohli, unfortunately, captaincy's not for him. It's just not the thing he should do. He's really good at batting.
Dan,
He should just stop with the captaincy thing, except
Dan,
with
look,
the
Dan,
shouting
I've
a lot
got-
at umpires.
but the
That's really
point
good.
was,
Do
the point
more of
was, there is no captaining, wasn't it? That captaincy is meaningless, that it's not a thing. But
Yeah.
that
No,
means
I
that
didn't
it
say
is
that.
That
it's
is-
meaningful.
that is
It's
what
just
the
from
point
the
was.
other point, from the other.
that. Well, no,
other
you
side.
can only do it badly. Is my point, Max. You can only
Right.
be a bad captain. You
can
can't
do
be a
anything
good captain.
badly, though,
You can only
can't
be
you?
a bad captain. Yeah, but that's my point about
Yeah.
the people with the hand in the fire. Look, either you accept that analogy or you don't.
That's-
Basically,
We're not
you-
accepting it.
you could captain.
You come on our
Bangalore.
podcast, you start
Jack,
ranting
Jack,
about fires.
Captain
We've got
Bangalore.
credibility.
All it takes is a passable moment to check in the record and go, oh, yeah, well, you just do that. Yeah, of course you'll do that. Yes, everyone knows you'll do that. And I'll just stand there and occasionally get excited with these.
You
Well,
must
that's
have been
great.
a
Thank you very
terrible
much.
captain when you.
No, because I captained 50 over cricket with amateurs, and that required incredible skills. Not 20 over cricket with a bunch of professionals who know exactly
you've
what
got,
they're
you've got to
doing.
balance the
That doesn't
cigarette
require
whilst you're trying to
anything.
catch
That
at first
doesn't
slip,
require
isn't it? That's your
anything.
technique.
No, you've got to work
Yeah.
out at what point you're going to put on your dobber against whom,
We
and
have-
that-
I
That's
want more
genuinely
analogies.
difficult.
That's what I want. I want
We have
more
one
analogies.
final question, and we are going to wrap this up. So we're doing an hour, and that's enough. That's enough cricket podcast. Swami on Patreon says, "Is Morgan not contributing to his team a planned strategy? He won an ODI World Cup without contributing anything personally. Is he trying to do the same in this IPL? I'm assuming this is tongue in cheek, Ross. But can you give a serious answer, please?"
I mean, he did contribute because he did single-handedly destroy Afghanistan, which the US Army failed to do. But
No, I think they did, didn't they? That was,
they did. Oh, they did.
that was the
But
problem.
I think that if Morgan wins this, what a CV he has, and what confidence you go. Like England at the moment, there is a big thing on Twitter that England don't stand a chance in the World Cup because it's on slow pitches, and we're going to try and smash everything. But all the English fans think we're going to win. If Morgan goes in as 50 over World Cup winning captain. By the way, Virat Kohli hasn't got that title. And Virat Kohli's not going to have the IPL one, and Eoin Morgan does. And then we go into that one as well and then win the T20 one. I think that there'll be a meltdown. There'll be a full meltdown. And maybe I'm changing my own mind and I actually want Eoin Morgan to win the IPL now on Friday.
Yeah. We just want Eoin Morgan's CV to be good. That's what we are now.
It
would be funny, wouldn't it? If he
would
was
be
so
really
bad
funny.
at batting and won.
Hang on a minute. I mean, don't any of you people want the greater good for the wider humanity? I mean, like, love should be shared. I mean, why does everything have to be all so vicious and cruel? Do you know what I mean?
So you want a draw? What's the?
Yeah, well, I mean, no, just let Morgan win one or the other. Let's not make it into some kind of strange nationalist competition. I mean, can't just people? And actually, why not? Why not have? I mean, Jason Holder can't win it anymore because bizarrely he's not the T20 captain, but
he's not in the squad.
They could win, or Sri Lanka could come from. I mean, it'd be lovely.
Sri Lanka will be lucky if they turned up on the right bus. They're that bad.
There's a bit of Oman. It'd be great for Oman. I think it's just what Oman needs. I think we should all be all together, sort of more about. Isn't it lovely? Isn't everything lovely? Rather than, wouldn't it be superb if Eoin Morgan stuck it to Virat Kohli so he was crying into his bang lassie every morning? That's no way to live. That's not how human beings get together in mutual camaraderie and perfect communal loveliness. People. Whoever wins, it'll be lovely on Friday. it'll be whoever wins will have a nice time, and won't that be great? And can the losers just be sort of okay with it?
Now,
I don't believe a word of any of that.
Classic BBC woke leftist.
Yeah, look, I'm auditioning, right? I'm auditioning for a different kind of job in the BBC.
Right, fellas, should we wrap up there? Ross, what are the final messages for our listeners, our viewers, the people?
If you're watching this,
love us?
subscribe to us right now. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, follow us at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want some really fun data stuff, then contribute to our Patreon and you get that. Dan, where can they find you? I mean, they only realised now you're on TMS, so it's not. You're not doing your brand. Your brand needs a bit of work.
I know it's slightly problematic. Well, you say that. I mean, I think the BBC needs to brand itself better. It's not up to me, is it? For Christ's sake, to get Test Match Special out there. I mean, program's been on air for 64 fucking years. You'd think so. This cunt would have heard of it by now. Anyway, we're at Norcross Cricket or an undisclosed location in Tooting Beck. I mean, happily walk up and down all the streets in Tooting Beck trying to find me, but I'm mostly hidden behind shutters. Oh shit, I've given something away. Anyway, that's where you can find me or not.
Lovely. Max, goodbye.
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 You're listening